What if the reason that everything feels so hard isn't because you've done anything wrong? It's because you've tried to handle each individual symptom separately, trying to fix food, fix energy, and movement in a completely different way. And yet nothing ever seems to settle down. Because with fibromyalgia, none of your symptoms are solely alone. They're all interconnected. Over the past several videos, I have discussed influences of your fibromyalgia, symptoms, stress, food, movement, identity, and each of these things matter a great deal, but they do not actually exist on their own. A lot of times it feels like you're trying to manage each individual aspect separately, whether you're trying to eat in just this right way, whether it is trying to follow your doctor's advice in doing exercise, but you're not moving in the right way to support your fibromyalgia. You're trying to manage your energy, but you're doing it in a way that actually overexhausts you rather than actually suits your fibromyalgia. And because you're putting in so much effort, you're actually making your condition worse. It's like you're juggling all these different balls, and because you can't move fast enough, they all hit the floor. And what does that make you feel like? It feels like you're a failure, creating that vicious cycle that I've discussed in the past. Cultures has taught us is that we're supposed to do things right. But the question is right for who? I won't lie, there are certain words in the English language that I dislike. Not because they're wrong, I dislike them because of the context that's been built into them. There's the word true. But the question is truth is different for each person, right? Real. Everybody's real in their own world. But a lot of people use it as judgment because they're not real in someone else's. And I dislike the context of taking these words and they're used as bludgeons against others because one person does not follow the exact same pattern that goes on that we face every day. Oh, you look young. Okay, but I don't feel young. You're lazy, but that's not how I feel because I try to work with what my body tells me. Judgment. It is a massive problem we have here in this world. Everybody judges you on their own perceptions, and it eventually does affect your own. One of the core things you have to realize is that none of these symptoms are independent, whether it be food, mental health, physical health, exercise, and movement. There's so many things we've got to think about. But by completely trying to separate them, we actually can make it so much harder for ourselves. We just want to make it simple. Life's not simple. It never has been. It never will be. We want to go back to the days before we dealt with so much pain, before we dealt with so much fatigue. I think a lot of us try to start and fix things one by one by focusing first on food, on movement, or possibly your sleep. And when that one thing does not fix what's going on, we become discouraged and we feel like it doesn't work, like you did it wrong. But it's not that things don't matter. It just means that we try to separate something that is not separatable. It's not something you can do in isolation. Everything has to work together. Otherwise, you just leave more leeway towards other things going wrong. When you consider how each decision we make changes and affects everything else, it causes a ripple, like when you're dealing with water. You put a drop of water in the middle of a smooth pond. What's it going to do? That one drop will cause a ripple effect and it'll expand, and then it'll keep expanding. Every single time you push your energy too far, it affects your next days. Not only does it affect your energy, it affects how much you're willing to eat, whether it causes nausea or it makes you so tired you don't want to cook. It affects how you feel, whether it be emotionally or physically. You push your energy too far one day, you deal with pain for the next week. It's an experience we've all had. And the same thing happens when you focus on another detail. When what you eat actually increases your energy, which means you feel like you can do more. But if you don't be mindful of how you use that energy, it could quickly turn the other way. The classic boom and bust cycle. Your energy affects how you move. And if you move too much, exercise, like in a traditional sense, it can cause an easy backflip into what you were trying to avoid. And that movement, it does affect your fatigue, but it can also help improve over time. Doctors really want us to exercise like a traditional able-bodied person. We, of course, start fighting back because we know the results. And that's why I discuss changing the word exercise into movement, because it's got a different connotation. We've been taught exercise, and our instant reaction to it is avoid because we don't want the results. And that's where word association can cause major problems. What they're trying to say is not always what we hear. When you think about it, it's when we shift our mindset and decide, hey, instead of trying to manage everything, let's learn what works together, what works for our body in a community type sense, not isolatory, but rather as a whole entity. It becomes less about controlling everything and more about noticing the patterns of what our body likes and doesn't. It's about adjusting rather than pushing harder. It's more about working differently in a way that supports our body instead of fighting against it. In real life, all of what I've just said is easier said than done. Some days, in response to your fibromyalgia, you do have to alter what you were planning to do that day. You may have made plans for one day, but when you wake up, you realize your body is just too tired or it hurts too much. So you have to change your plans, and with that may come some guilt. Sometimes you make a dinner thinking you would love to have it because it's one of your favorite foods, but just the very smell of it causes nausea. And so you try and figure out something else to eat, even though you've fed your family this food that just makes you ill. This is just one of the symptoms. You may be halfway through doing something and your energy level drops so far you can't actually finish it. Even if you really, really want to finish it, none of what I've just said is a failure. It's about adjustment. You are actually responding to what your body feels like, and that's okay. Identity changes year after year. What you were like as a child with so much vim and vinegar, so much, I've got all these plans. And then as time goes by, those plans change. This is a cycle of life. As we gain experience, we realize what we wanted as a kid is not what we can do now. When I was a kid, I so desperately wanted to be a veterinarian. That's all I wanted. But as I begun to realize that I could not hack the sciences, my plans changed. I got interested in psychology, but it's all about learning what you experience and turning it into what you can be proud of. And one of those things you can be proud of is getting out of bed every single day. You deal with a load that many people don't, and yet you still keep going. You still keep succeeding, maybe not in the traditional sense that everybody else thinks of, but you're still here. You're still doing everything you can within your physical limitations. And that is a heck of a lot to be proud of. You carry a heavy load. And in this, there is a mixture of identity shifts. One being you've had to overcome, and while it's changed you, has the question you've got to ask yourself, has it changed you for the good or has it changed you for the bad? That's where awareness starts. You want to go more on the other side to being more productive. That's how you change. You choose exactly what you want your life to be accomplished with. And in that, you start gaining control over your body. And one thing you've got to remember, you don't have to change everything at once. In fact, with fibromyalgia, baby steps is the way to do it because it's about managing stress, your mental health, and your body. And one thing fibromyalgia has taught me over the past 32 years is that the smaller you make the steps, the more likely you are to complete them. And with each completed step, it gives you a bit of an endorphin release. It's like, yes, I completed something. And with our energy reserves, we need those victories because it gives us that sense that I may be different, but that does not mean I'm useless or hopeless. That gives us the hope to keep going. There will be a lot of times when things don't go as we expect. But who in this world doesn't have that happen? You don't know if it's going to be good or bad, but it's about building on what you've done. It's about continuing to take that step forward. It's about learning how your patterns work. No matter what, it's not about managing everything perfectly. It's not about trying to fix each piece on its own. It's about starting to understand how things are connected and learning how to work with your body as a whole instead of feeling like you're fighting it piece by piece. And while this can't happen all at once, over time it does start to become more manageable. It'll feel a little less like you're just trying to play catch up and a little more like you're learning how to work with your body. How often do you feel like you're trying to manage everything separately? Or have you started to notice how connected it all feels to you? And if you're still trying to figure that question out, welcome to the party, because we all do. Even those of us who've had the illness for so long, we're still doing day by day. I still have flares, quite frequently sometimes. But in one sense, I'm doing something I believe in. And in that, that's victory. If you find this content valuable, please feel free to share with someone who might be dealing with fibromyalgia or a family member who might be interested in learning more about it. If you are interested, I do have a Discord channel. I also have a Blue Sky, Instagram, and Facebook. All of the links will be in the description below. I'll talk to you next week. I do want to add one thing. These videos are written from my own personal experiences, from my own research. They are not meant as a medical diagnosis. They're not meant as medical advice. I'm just trying to share ways that I've learned to deal with the illness from over 3 decades of experience.